go for it. And then the double, the same-sex figure is, she's my inner lover. She's the inner beloved, the inner soul figure, the sister of the heart, friend of the heart. And so the idea here is that when, in the lesbian psyche, when the relationship with the mother has been freed up enough, that the feminine can then get constellated as the double instead of just being completely all about the mother. And when the double starts showing up in the psyche, it's like, you know, the mother really can't kind of hold a candle to her. She's the source of the creative life and creative imagination, and the soul. She's the soul figure, the inner beloved, and she's who's wanting to come out in lesbian relationships, but gets thwarted by the fact that the mother stuff is as yet undifferentiated. And so that's the real motivation to go into the salt mines of the hell of early childhood trauma, is like not just for the sake of that, but to liberate this energy that's at the erotic core of our being. And even if you're not lesbian, that this double figure plays a very important role in women's psyches, because she's the source of imagination and creativity. She's the source of imagination and creativity. So Plato had this idea that he tells a story in the Symposium that, Socrates tells a story in the Symposium that his great teacher was this woman named Diotima. And my kids make Diotima lesbian. So his teacher was this lesbian named Diotima. And she basically tells the story about how there's two Aphrodites, one who's the Aphrodite of what he calls common love, which is the heterosexual Aphrodite of that's concerned. Everybody's concerned with immortality, and if you're involved, if you sort of answer to the goddess Aphrodite Dione, then you want to ensure your immortality through the procreation of literal children. Okay. But if there's this other goddess named Aphrodite Urania, and if you answer to her, and if she calls you, then it means you're a same-sex. You're in love with people of the same sex, and you procreate what's called children of the mind, meaning art, poetry, philosophy, music. In the case of lesbians, I really want to say like social justice, because we're real big on social justice.
Thank you.
So my point here, that the engagement of the ego with the inner double, the inner beloved, the inner same-sex figure in the psyche is where this imaginal procreation takes place. So I wanted to say one other thing about archetypally. We could say that there are certain things about heterosexuality that are numinous to heterosexuals, and that is like the other. Like in heterosexuality, I'm attracted to what's different than me. I'm attracted to what's other. And homosexuality, you're attracted to sames. Here, in Plato's model, heterosexuality is about the concrete material world, because it's about making literal babies. That's what's numinous. That's what was driving heterosexuality, and it's like numinous to procreate. So anything having to do with the material world, and whereas homosexuality is about the imagination, right? Homosexuality, I mean not only literal homosexuality, but I mean this kind of homosexuality where it's the ego of a particular gender in relationship to the double. And then we can also say that heterosexuality is kind of privileges extroversion, again, because it's about the other. Like I got to go outside myself to get that thing, and that homosexuality is about introversion. And if you, I mean, I'm like, it's just an idea, okay. But if it resonates, then we can see that we're kind of way over here, you know, in the world today, and that by that if all people can start to cultivate this relationship in the psyche, like what Ed Hadwana had with Inanna, with the double, then we can start to rebalance things, bring the world into some other kind of balance. Ah! Okay. All right. So, imagine a world, like kind of just sort of offering up this idea, imagining a world where the women, in particular, where women had as the central energy in our lives, cultivating this creative relationship with the inner double, and so that cultivating my creative life and my imagination was given as the thing that was supposed to be the center of my life, and that was what was given to all girl children. That my creative life and who I am is at the center of my life. You could imagine a kind of paradigm shift that might take place in terms of how many women would actually opt to, have literal children. How many women would actually opt to engage in the caretaking. I mean, I think there are some women who are called to it and really are good at it, but I think way more people do it than actually really want to.
Right. Right on.
Yeah, or should. That's what she was saying.
Or should. Way more. Yeah, way more. And I like this analysis I like this analysis because when we analyze the problem as patriarchy, it really is an allegiance with this victim mother. It's not that there isn't patriarchy, but like, what am I going to do about that? I mean, I have a patriarchy in my own psyche that I have to overthrow. But if I can, but what I can do proactively is have a relationship with my own double, and get more and more and more and more centered in my own existence. So, like, when I got this cancer diagnosis, it was like, one of the first things I thought was, okay, I can just talk about lesbian psychology and lesbian centeredness until I die. Because that's what I want to talk about. And why do I have to do all these other things? To get by and survive and because that's just what I've been doing. Like I'm not allowed to just do that. It's forbidden in some way.
question about archetypes.
Yeah.
In case you're moving on, I don't want.
No, this is question time. Question time, and maybe some answers. But
But I think that's the first thing I want to say is my kids are very overstimulated by your talk, and I don't really feel like you need to take care of my kids. So I'll throw the question out to anybody. But again, it's kind
yes,
of
please, please.
It's kind of the difference between gay men and lesbians again, which is I see my lesbian clients being very strongly identified with the archetypes of butch and femme. Every one of those clients tells me what their role is, and I don't see that with my gay male clients. And I'm curious about that strong identification with those archetypes, and again, how things might be different.
That's interesting. I don't identify with those.
Hmm?
I don't identify with either one of those.
Okay.
I don't think they're archetypes. I think they're parts of the collective conscious roles.
Yeah, that's roles.
That's like. Anybody else want
Well,
to weigh in?
well, interesting, because I have some gay clients that will say, I don't like the queenie guys,
Mhm.
I'm into just normative looking guys. So it's interesting, I think there's some, in my experience, there's some, with my friends and my clientele, I think there's both men and women, lesbian and gay people, that some people, it's important to identify being feminine or not, or butch or whatever, or there's a continuum. But I think other people, it's not in their
Right.
consciousness or something.
Like I see with my gay clients, they just identify it more sexually, you know, in terms of top, bottom. But with my women clients, they really seem, it's much broader, it's much bigger than that for them.
Well, one thing is that I think, just from homophobia living in our world,
Mhm.
that I think sometimes butch women, when a woman is coming out, can be homophobic, you know, because it's the lesbian in their face, and it can be very, I think, frightening during the coming out process until a woman can completely go through the acceptance of their
Mhm.
sexual orientation.
Right.
So that might also be part of it too.
Well, I'm going to offer up this idea that the double is a set of twins. They're twins, and they're in a dance together. Always, they're always in a dance, and they are both the same because they're the same gender, but they're also opposites. And in other words, you know, we're both female, but we're also opposites. In the way that, I'm not talking about this. There's another myth where Inanna goes down into the underworld and visits her sister, Ereshkigal, who's this dark, very dark sister. And Inanna, in this case, is the goddess of light. But they're twins, they're sisters, but they're opposites. And they're secret lovers. They're secretly lovers. And one feeling is that butch and femme is it's erotic. It's an erotic location. It's not necessarily like roles. It's something that's some way that the archetype constellates. And it's like I don't know how to describe it very well theoretically. But I can say that, if there's like a butch woman, like I like that, like a woman who's like that. It depends on how your client is talking, how they're talking about it. If it feels rigid, if it feels like therefore I can't receive,
Mm-hmm.
I have to be the one who does.
Right.
I have trouble receiving, but like, don't let that fool you, because it may look like the femme is receptive, but actually inside she's probably got all the same trauma that feels like I can't really receive either.
Are you guys, the two of you, you can tell me, talking about a power shift sexually? I'm getting confused in the butch femme of what's socially constructed or what's in the bedroom. And then if it's in the bedroom, is it a power shift sexually?
Yeah, well,
like I'm more submissive, you're more dominant, or is this
Well,
more reciprocal?
Well, my idea is that I don't think it's socially constructed.